So less than a week to go until the Serie A season begins. So it's time, Grell, for your predictions. We're going to run through the table. Let's start with the relegation zone, shall we? Who have you got in your bottom three?
Disclaimer, by the way, the transfer window is not finished yet, so take this with a grain of salt, but this is what I see so far. Monza coming up from Serie B last season. I see them going back down. I don't think they've had a substantial transfer window, really. I don't see that they bring in enough players. The same goes with Lecce. Frosinone actually has spent a little bit of money, and I think they play some good stuff. But unfortunately, I just think the teams above them will be better equipped and more familiar with Serie A. But obviously, Frosinone, a team that plays some really good football. Lecce for years now have been hanging on. I think this is the year that we say goodbye to them. They
have had some nervy moments, haven't they, Lecce? Frosinone seems to be a bit of a yo-yo team now lately in the last couple of seasons, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is. And they're trying to bolster up the squad a little bit more this season. So they've added some guys. But again, I just think the teams above them, and we're going to go into that in a second, the Cagliaris, the Parmas, the Genoas, I think that they're just better equipped this season to move on. And this is where you have Cagliari. Cagliari played some of the most fantastic football we've seen. Some of their goals were highlight reel stuff. Pesecane is the coach, is a young Italian coach, really brave. A lot of young Italians in the lineup, and obviously Italy not making the World Cup. That's been a huge topic of conversation of putting the youngsters in. I think they survive by a hair, sort of like what they did last season. So, but I'm really a fan of what they're doing there as well. And again, the transfer market haven't done much, but we'll see in the next few weeks how they finish it off.
Yeah, they finished 15th place last season, but it didn't feel that comfortable, did it? It was really close. Venezia as well, back in Serie A after being promoted last season. You got them 16th. Yeah,
Venezia are our yo-yo side, right? We've seen them go up and come down, and every time we talk about them, we're talking about their kits and their things they do on the social side. So that's great, but they're going to have to play some football, and this year I think they finally understand that. They spent $30 million in the transfer market, so they've had some really important players, and I like them to stay up. I think also going to their stadium is a little bit difficult because it's a smaller venue. It's obviously on a small little island up north. So I think this year they'll be able to hang on because of their investment in the transfer window.
Okay, coming in at number 15, let's have a look as we get closer to the mid-table. Genoa.
Yeah, Genoa as well. We know them for not spending money and not doing much, but they've added Daniele De Rossi there, and I think he's going to be really good now. He's in his, getting experience as a coach. He's had more time. He's regarded as one of the top coaches. His name was thrown in the hat for the Italian national team job, if things didn't work out. So I think that's pretty impressive, and I think he's did a lot with a little at Genoa because they never really reinvested the money. This year they've spent $20 million. So they're spending money now, and they brought in a couple interesting players. So I think that they can have enough to stay in that position. Again, the beauty of Italian football is that the parity it's so tight. So there's this, bottom half of the table group that's like so hard to split, and then there's the top half that we'll look at in a second. But these teams, like the spots can flip so easily within them. I just think that the experience in coaching and the transfer window they had is enough to put them in the 15th position.
And how unique is it as well that Italy have the play-out game as well, which we've seen happen before. If a team finishes on the same amount of points at the end of the season, it's deadlock, and then they'll play a game head-to-head, and the team that loses will be relegated. The Marassi, amazing atmosphere. Parma, you've got coming in at number 14.
Yeah, last season I said, okay, the coach is too young, Cuesta's too young, too defensive. He doesn't really maybe understand what Italian football is going to require. They lost a few players as well, so I had them getting relegated, and they proved me 100% wrong. This year they sell on, obviously, Pellegrino, so it's a big move for them, but they bring in El Bilal Torre. El Bilal Torre, for me, is a Atalanta player. He's there on loan, but he's a player that at Atalanta got hurt early on and then moved around and hasn't been able to find his way. I'm impressed with him. When I watch his highlight reels and when I watch him play in games, I think he's a really good player, so I think he's a good addition. And Cuesta, like I said, has proved us all wrong. Organized, defensive, really smart coach. So I think he has enough to stay safe. And I do think that that's sort of the aim for Parma. Because, again, once you get a little bit higher up the table, it gets so hard, especially in Italy now, to get into the European positions.
Yeah, and like you said, it's a bit of a luxury, isn't it, to be in that mid-table where you're not sucked into the relegation zone. Udinese seem to be there a lot of the time when the season comes to an end as well.
And Udinese, had the potential years ago in Europe, right? They've got grandma's recipe book, right? They just know how to stay right there in that position. big guys, physical guys, athletic players that come in. They're able to sell a lot of them on. Like Atta just got sold on to Fiorentina. I think he's an unbelievable addition for Fiorentina, and we'll get there. But Udinese have so many of those guys that fit in those positions. They know how they're going to play. They know what it's going to look like. And it'll be ups and downs and a lot of draws and a lot of mediocrity. And that's, I think, why they'll find themselves in 13th position.
Okay, coming in at number 12, another team that seems to always be mid-table when all is said and done is Torino.
Yeah, and every year it's like, we're going to do something, and then they never do. Obviously, when we cover them the most, it's against Juventus because of the derby.
Yeah.
And we know what their record is in that derby. And we know over the last few years there hasn't been substantial investment, and there hasn't been a lot of excitement around the club. That's why I have them finishing in the 12th position. They did add Comuzzo and Orestagno, the two players that I really like. Comuzzo, the young center back, Italian center back, hasn't been able to find his way at Fiorentina, so he's on loan there at Torino. I think that'll be interesting. Sassuolo is the next team I have there, and again, they play some good stuff. They're an exciting side. They added some really interesting players in Dominguez, and they have their new coach Aguilani. If you remember him, he played in a few clubs, top clubs in Italy. So I have them there, but again, really difficult to move up from that position.
And Sassuolo is that bizarre team where they're capable of pulling off such a big upset against the top teams. It's the lower ones that they sometimes struggle against. Top half of the table at number 10, right in the middle is who, Grell? Wow, Lazio. And now I'm going to start. These teams are in the top half of the table, so you'd see that as a positive, but I'm also going to tell you why they are in the positions they are. And this one for me is simply Gattuso. I was a big fan of Gattuso as a player, as a person. I think he comes out with some of the best clips we've ever seen in world football. But I was not impressed with the job he did with Italy. Yeah. I don't think he's done a really great job everywhere else he's been. And besides the fact that Lazio for years now, we made it to the front page of the Italian newspapers because we called out the elephant in the room, which was what was going on with them selling all their best players over the years and not reinvesting the money, and the fans stopped showing up to games. Mm-hmm. Guess what? This transfer window has been almost the same. They sold Hila, who's I thought their best player, to Milan, and replaced him with guys that are way less well known. So I think it's going to be another season of mediocrity for Lazio and frustration for their fans. So much frustration for the fans. When I think back to Lazio last season, it's all about the Stadio Olimpico being empty or the fans coming in late or leaving early. It was a lot happening aside from the football, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay, number 9.
Number 9, we're going to have Bologna. They did some good business, I think good business, and what they've become now is, and what they are, is a club that understands that this is sort of where they are. Can they get themselves into Europe? They played Champions League football for the first time. I was there. I know I tell you all the time. I was there, and actually it's an unbelievable stadium with an unbelievable fan base, but they know what they are. They just sold their striker, the young Argentine, Castro, for big money, so it's a good business move again, and they replaced him, I think, with a loan move of Dovbyk. Mm-hmm. By the way, Dovbyk's been very uninspiring the last 2 years, but he was the leading goal scorer in Spain not long ago. So I think it's, again, really clever business from Bologna perspective, but not enough to get themselves into European spots.
So true, because they worry you every season with the players that are going out, even though it's for big money, but somehow they seem to put it together.
And also Italiano gone. Just in case, if you don't know, Italiano gone, re-meets with Vlahovic in Turkey as his coach, so we'll see if they can rekindle that relationship. Italiano, who was born in Germany, was the coach of Bologna, and now it's Tedesco, who's born in Italy. So do the math on that one. Interesting to see how he does as well, new coach. Yeah,
okay, number 8, who have you got? This is where it starts to get really interesting. Wow, Fiorentina.
Yeah, Fiorentina here have had, so far, in my opinion, one of the best transfer windows. They spent 122 million. Some of the names they added: Mastantuono, Atta, Olawi, Pellegrino from Parma, Joao Mario. So they've added so many players. They've got rid of some. They trimmed some fat. They have Moises Kean up top, who was leading goal scorer not long ago. I just think, can they put all those players together in such a short period of time? It's one thing, putting really good players in the building and getting them, is another thing to glue them together and make sure that they're playing well. Also coming off a season where, shockingly, half the season we talked about, more than half the season we talked about them in a relegation battle. So I think I'm comfortable putting them at the 8th position.
That's a massive jump. They finished in 15th place last season, but like you said, it felt like for at least until Christmas, we were talking about them in the relegation zone, and then it got a bit hairy, didn't it, in January? So Fiorentina on the rise, Atalanta in 7th place.
Yeah, and I have Atalanta in 7th, and I think with the addition of Maurizio Sarri, he adds a lot of experience here as well. They do lose Palestra to Chelsea. That was a big money move, 47 million to be precise. And I haven't seen really too many additions, and I think the teams above them have really spent a lot of money and a lot of time. And again, so many coaching changes since Gasperini, so it takes a little while. Obviously, they had Palladino, they had Juric for a little while, and now Maurizio Sarri. So it will take time to really implement his style. That's why I have Atalanta in 7th place. But really good project, really good club.
And it's hard with Atalanta, isn't it? Because our expectations are so high now after seeing them play so much Champions League football. They will be playing in Europe this season, but in the Conference League. Okay, number 6, Grell, who have you got?
I have Napoli in number 6.
Wow.
They are going to be playing Champions League football. They lose Lukaku, which they never really had in the first place. They lose Antonio Conte, their fearless leader, 2 years ago. Big reason why they were able to win the Scudetto. And I just don't see the investment. The only players they've really brought in was Højlund, and that was really something that we kind of knew about. And he's been in the team, and it's obviously was not as polished as Lukaku or some of the other strikers we were able to see. Also, Allegri is the addition there.
How do you feel about that, by the way?
I like Allegri because I like what he brings to the table in terms of he understands the simplicity of football and what it requires, and especially in Italian football, being defensive first. I think that's important for any team that wants to accomplish anything. But on the attacking side of the ball, he makes teams worse. We've seen now with Juventus, we saw it with Milan, was a massive failure with Milan last season. So to think that maybe Milan had better players, in my opinion, last season, he only finished them in 6th, it's probably going to be a similar finish for Napoli.
Doesn't that worry you, though? Because, yes, OK, everybody said it, well, he's so defensively sound, and the goal for Milan is Champions League football, even though they were in the Scudetto race for a large portion of the season. For them to have fallen out the way they did all the way to the Europa League, does that make the alarm bells ring a bit for you with Max Allegri?
Like having them in 6th? Or for Milan?
For Milan, with what Allegri did, going from Scudetto contenders all the way to the Europa League?
Yeah, it does, because also they didn't play good football when they had the ball, and I thought they had the players to do so. And also concerning to me that the stubbornness when he, continues to the 2 best players were Leao and Pulisic, and he played in the formation that was not the best for them. So a little bit stubborn in his way. So I think there could be some struggle. Also, after Conte leaves the team is physically and emotionally pretty drained. They're going to be playing Champions League as well, like I mentioned. So I just think that they're going to struggle to find goals and find different moments. And so that's why I had them 6th with Allegri, same finish that he did with Milan. Okay, number 5, who have you got? Number 5, I have Milan, and I think they've had a fantastic transfer window. Gila and obviously Ramos, the big striker. So I think that is really, they did a good transfer window. They kept Modric, they had Rabiot, they have some really interesting players. Leao, we still have to remain to see if he stays, if he goes. My only concern is Amorim. I think I like what he says. I think the shell looks really good. The cover of the book looks really good, and he sells you this great thing. But we haven't seen it yet, and it's just a lot of philosophy and technical stuff and this and that. And Italian football is going to require a lot. I think there's a massive learning curve with Italian football, and AC Milan are not where they want to be at the moment, but they carry a massive history, unbelievable history in Europe, unbelievable history in Serie A as well, and domestically. So I think that comes with a lot of pressure, and I don't know how much patience he'll have.
If he finishes in 5th, Ruben Amorim, does he stay next season if the standings fall this way?
I don't think so. Unless he builds a real identity, which all the coaches previously haven't been able to build. And I think the target will be at least top 4. It's got to be top 4 or bust for these teams. These massive teams like Milan, Juventus, even Napoli, Inter, they have to finish in the top 4 for sure, for financial reasons as well.
Does Rafael Leao's situation concern you a little bit as well? The fact that he's spoken out and said, it looks like I'm, looking for a move away from Milan, and now they can't get the money that they want for him, so he's on big wages. He's obviously staying there. Is that worrying, or you think it'll all come together?
I think it's a player that you could have got 80, 90 million for a few years back, and now you don't. So obviously we can't go in the past, so you have to move to the future. And I think the conversation is a simple one, whether it comes from ownership or whether it comes from Amorim, and you sit him down and you just say, do you want to be here or not? Are you going to play or not? Because I don't think he's going to drop much more his value from what he does this season. I still think he's a fantastic player when he taps into it, but he just never taps into it. He doesn't tap into it often enough. So if he stays, you put him back in his natural position. I think he gives you something for sure, and when there's space behind in transitional moments. But if he wants to leave and he's not happy, see you later and get rid of him.
Okay, the top 4 then. We're finally into it. Como.
Como also spent massive money. Owner just came out and said, yeah, all right, if we broke the rules, fine us. It is what it is. They were able to get the signature of Nico Paz and actually own the player, which I think is tremendous. Fabregas knows exactly how he wants to play. It's a Spanish style of football, but it works really well. There's a patience, there's a defensive side to them. I would have them higher in this table if they brought in a striker or if they bring in a striker in the next few weeks. But I just think that's the missing piece. Dovicas is not enough for me if you're going to play in Champions League football and you're going to play in Serie A to have a higher finish than fourth, unless you add a really good striker. So, but they've added some excellent players there as well.
Do you get concerned with their schedule for the first time this season, playing in the Champions League and balancing things domestically, or do you think they've got enough depth where you're confident in them?
No, not at all, because they're a team that every single transfer window since new ownership has taken over, they've just added players, and they don't lose many. Right? They get rid of the ones that don't play and that they're not really part of the group, but they've only added a lot of quality. So they're in it. The fact that they were able to keep Fabregas and Paz tells you exactly what their ambitions are, and their ambitions are to be a big club in Italy, and the project has been pretty amazing. And I just think also with so much transition and so many changes in coaches and players and everything else, they know exactly who they want to be and how they want to do it. So I don't think many teams in Europe, in all of Europe, have that. So it'll be interesting to watch them play all season.
Great point. They were the story of football last season, weren't they, in many ways? Number 3, you've got who?
We got Juventus, simply because they throw a ton of money at it. Spalletti's there, obviously. They add Colomuani. I'm not maybe a massive fan. They get rid of Vlahovic, João Mario on loan as well. Openda's gone on loan as well. Sometimes you have to look at Openda and Vlahovic were good players before they came there. João Mario, I think, is a fine player as well. Douglas Luiz, I think, was a good player. You got to sometimes start looking at yourself now in the club and start saying, maybe the way we are doing this and building this and coaching this and sort of putting this together is not putting these players in a position to succeed. So I think there's some major problems at Juventus. I don't see this brand of football, the Spalletti ball that we saw when they won the Scudetto with Napoli. I still haven't seen it. There's a lack of fluidity when they have possession of the football, and the expectation and the pressure is still there. Again, it's similar to Milan. They're going to be expected to go win the Europa League. They're going to be expected to, top 4 or even go and try and win the league. But I do see major faults in Napoli, Milan, and Juventus, and even Como with lacking the striker position. But so that's where I have Juventus in third, and only because they throw a lot of money over it over the last 3-4 seasons.
Do you think it'll be a big relief, though, that Vlahovic has now moved on and isn't kind of taking all these wages and not contributing to the team in the way that he would have wanted?
Yeah, a good riddance. I mean, I'm happy we don't have to talk about him anymore. He went to Turkey, and I thought it was. I was rewatching Maradona when he signed for Napoli. It was like the king was there, and he's been very lackluster over the last few seasons. And the amount of money he was getting paid never really warranted it. And he was very quick to point fingers at everything else and not just get the job done. So we'll see if he can rekindle it.
Yeah.
I think at his time at Fiorentina, he looked to me like one of the best strikers in the world. But at Juventus, with the weight of the jersey, I think he was never able to do it.
And good point as well. They're playing in the Europa League this season. They'll be the favourites alongside Milan to be one of the contenders to win it. At number 2.
Number 2, Roma. I think they have an excellent coach in Gasperini. I think they have an excellent project. If they're able to keep a lot of the players like Kone in the midfield, I think that's a great one. I love the addition of Castro. I love the addition of Daniel Malin. He's really transformed the team. Also, the addition of Malin is what Gasperini wanted, and I think he knows what he wants. So I have them there. Really powerful team, really organized team, good defensively. They're going to play Champions League football, and I think it's a project that now has been going on for quite a while. They've had substantial investment over the last few years. And I have them not only in second, but maybe given Inter. Maybe given Inter, asking them.
Think they'll be the closest challenger?
Some questions. I really like what they do, and I really like what Gasperini does and the way he plays. And then obviously we have Inter there. Over the 5 years that we've covered them, they have never been more of a favorite than they are this season. Most seasons it's a little bit closer. Again, they add John Stones, they lose Dumfries. That's really all it's been. And Jan Sommer, obviously the goalkeeper, is gone. Kivu doesn't have to do much. He just has to stay out of the way. It's such a well-oiled machine. Yeah, they're a little bit older, but they know exactly how they're going to play. They know what it looks like. They plug and play. They have probably the best players pound for pound. They have one of the best midfielders in all of Europe. The 2 Champions Leagues in the last 4 years has shown that. So that's why I had them at the top. I think it's theirs to lose. yet again.
And do you agree with the bookies that this is the biggest disparity we've seen with them at the top compared to the rest of the field?
Yeah, it is. I do believe that, because I think Roma, albeit a really good project, and I think they're going to give Inter a run for their money. Like I said, the Juventus, Como, Milan, Napoli, the ones that you would normally see in the conversation of Scudetto race, I think they have some major flaws. But again, it's Italian football, and we could be wrong. Inter have had trouble closing in big moments, in big games, so it's quite possible these other teams could maybe put a run together. But I just don't see any of these, 3 through 6. I don't see them as complete enough and deep enough and clear enough the idea of how they want to play and how they're going to do it. I don't see enough to challenge Inter.
And the caveat is the transfer window is still open. And last season you changed it, didn't you, after the transfer window closed? So this is Mike Grella's Serie A predictions for now, and we'll see in a couple of weeks' time what it looks like.